to First Parish in Milton. My name is Jeff Stote. I'm a member of the Worship Committee. First Parish is a vibrant, welcoming congregation that welcomes all people to grow deep faith and take bold action. We're so glad you're here with us today. The sanctuary is made holy by your presence. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, please take a welcome packet from the pew rack. There is information about our services and our child care. If you're here with a child and that child becomes too restless to handle during service, please know that out that door and down the hall there's a sanctuary where trained personnel can soothe your child. You could even deposit them there if you wish. Well, if you fill out this yellow card that I mentioned earlier, inside the packet and you drop it in the offering plate, you'll receive our weekly email newsletter, which can help you to get to know us better. Now, our greeters today, Beth and Carolyn, they're both wearing these colorful tags, and there they are, waving in the back. And they'll be standing by the doors after worship is over. Please join them, and they'll walk you to social hour together or answer your questions. Now, on the subject of social hour, today the Hospitality Committee is hosting social hour out in the courtyard, and what a beautiful day it is for that. Thank you. We strive to make our worship experience accessible to people of all ages and abilities. Please see the welcome card in your pew for more information on this, or speak with an usher at the back of the church. The work of living our faith is done both in and out of worship, so I draw your attention to the printed announcements that came with your order of worship. These announcements are important news of our community life, so please read them carefully. Charlie Franick has a special announcement for us this morning. Charlie?
Good morning. My name is Charlie Franick, and I am chair of the membership committee here at First Parish. And we are responsible for welcoming at a variety of different levels. You've been introduced to our greeters this morning. I wanted to make an appeal. We have a few from our greeter cadre who are going to be unavailable over the course of this year, and so we are looking for 3 or 4 volunteers who would be willing to serve as greeters. It would be a once every 10 to 12 week responsibility, so you wouldn't be doing it more than 3 or 4 times, I don't anticipate, over the course of the year. If you are open to doing this, please see me after the service. And in particular, we would be interested in having people who join the greeter cadre who have been relatively new to First Parish and have a somewhat clearer memory of their experience of having been greeted when they first got here, because I think it's going to be important for greeters to be able to appreciate what their experience was like in terms of making it a welcoming experience for new folks coming to our door. Also, if there are 2 or 3 people who would be interested in serving on the membership committee, we are also looking for relatively more newly arrived folks and on the younger end of the spectrum, because there are probably too many of us that have got white hair for this job. And so let me know if you're interested, and I will be sending out email requests as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. At this time, we invite you to turn your mobile phones to worship mode. Lastly, I want to tell you something. You belong here. You belong here. Maybe just for the next hour, though we hope for longer. You belong here, and we are happy to have you with us. Extending a generous welcome is a spiritual practice, and I invite us all to extend that welcome to our neighbors by taking a few minutes to greet them warmly.
That's good. You all get back to your chairs. This is good. That's good. Excellent. Our chalice lighting this morning. We come to this time and this place to rediscover the wondrous gift of free religious community, to renew our faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind and the full heart, to rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and to reclaim the vision of an earth made fair with all her people one. And as Jeff lights our chalice, the symbol of our liberal faith, I invite you to turn into the open in your order of service and join me in the unison call to worship. Come, let us gather. We gather to celebrate the sacred within and among us. We come to see spiritual growth and understanding. We strive to practice acceptance, forgiveness, and love. Together, we work to build a world of justice and compassion. Come, let's gather together.
Our first hymn today is in your Black Spirit of Life book. It is number 287. Please rise as you are able. Our reading today is by Walt Whitman. It's called The Great City. A great city is that which has the greatest men and women. If it be a few ragged huts, it is still the greatest city in the whole world. Where the city stands, with the brawniest breed of orators and bards. Where the city stands, that is beloved by these, and loves them in return, and understands them. Where no monuments exist to heroes, but in the common words and deeds. Where thrift is in its place, and prudence is in its place. Where the populace rise at once against the never-ending audacity of elected persons. Where outside authority enters always after the precedence of inside authority. Where women enter the public assembly and take places the same as the men. Where children are taught to be laws to themselves and to depend on themselves. Where the city of the healthiest fathers stands. Where the city of the strong-bodied mothers stands. Where the city of the faithfulest friends stands. There, the great city stands.
It's mentioned in your order of service that that piece was written by the former organist here. I look for his name. Edward Hastings, who was here from 71 to 86. And in fact, there's a little plaque to him up there on the organ, which is pretty cool that lovely piece was written by somebody here, and that the choir sang it so well. Would you join me in reading the responsive reading? It is in the back of our great hymnals. It's number 655. Change alone is unchanging. 655. I'll read the bold print if you would respond with the italicized lines. Whosoever wishes to know about the world must learn about it in its particular details. In searching for the truth, be ready for the unexpected.
Change alone is unchanging.
The same road goes both up and down.
The beginning of the circle is also its end.
Not I, but the world says it. All is one.
And yet everything runs in season.
Thank you. And to illustrate that everything, that there is change, you might have already noticed I messed up the order of service this morning, and I also found myself down here instead of up there at this moment. So excuse me as I run up the stairs and get ready for the sermon. Oh, here I am. Here we go. It is a sin to be good if God has called you to be great. It is a sin to be good if God has called you to be great. This was the opening sentence from Tom Rainier's book, Breakout Churches. It's a sin to be good if God has called you to be great. Now, Dr. Rainier is a conservative evangelical Christian, so it makes sense for him to use that sort of language. But you and I aren't conservative Christian evangelicals. At least I don't think so. I'm still new here. I haven't met you all yet, but I'm guessing you probably aren't. But I was so taken by that opening sentence of that book that I thought I would share it and its ideas with you here at the start of my interim ministry with this church. But having grown up as a Unitarian Universalist and been around this faith for quite some time now, I know that before I continue, I need to address the fact that some of that language in that sentence might prevent you from hearing what it's trying to say. I know that some of those words push some of your buttons, might even push some of mine too. And I'm sure that there are a couple of you that when you heard that quote, it was like your whole dashboard lit up. All the lights went off all at once. So let's spend a moment unpacking that quote, translating it, if it were. It's a sin to be good if God has called you to be great. Now, we could just say it's bad to be good when you can be great. But that doesn't have the same weight, the same pow, right, that the writer intended. So let's look at the three words in there that probably push your buttons the most. My buttons too, right? Sin, call, and great. Sin. What is a sin? I know that many of you grew up believing that sins were things that were written down on a piece of vellum and then stuck in a vault someplace in Europe. And that people at times would pull out copies of that vellum and sort of say, aha, look what you've done. But what sins really are those things, those actions, those thoughts that separate you from God, from the thing that gives you your life the most meaning. I realize by saying the word God, I've also maybe tripped that same thing again. So let me say that God is that word that we use to describe all the things that we can't describe. So a sin is those things that isolate us from what is good in life. those things that you know that you shouldn't do. Now, the second of those three words is the word call. Now, I went to Andover Newton Theological School, just up the road here in Newton, which is a Christian seminary, a liberal Christian seminary, but a Christian one. And words like call were bandied about a lot by a lot of the students as a way to answer the question, what are you doing here? The term call in our culture brings to mind those who have answered God's call. And many of my classmates would describe experiences that it would be like they talk about why, we'd say, so why are you here? Why are you coming to seminary? And they start talking, and there'd be like clouds parting and sunbeams coming down. And they heard a voice going, serve. Now, I can't discount their experiences, even if I wanted to. Though, to be honest, some people seemed to be kind of showing off when they were talking about their call. But call for me, when I hear the word call, was something more that I experienced in my Quaker high school that I went to when we sat in our service, where you'd sit in silence until you felt the Spirit come over you. Something that sort of welled up in you and you couldn't ignore. It was a feeling, an irrepressible impulse. It was not an external impulse as much as it felt internal. And it tells you to stand up and say something, or to do something that you may not want to do or say, but which you realize that you must do. It is something that you are compelled to do. So far we've got these two questions, these two words of the three, right? So we could translate that quote, instead of it's a sin to be good when God has called you to be great. We could translate it to be, it is wrong to separate yourself from goodness by just being good when you are compelled to be great. But let's talk about the word great for a moment. Paul of Tarsus, the first apostle of Jesus, wrote to the early Christians in the city of Corinth, and he said, "Now abide faith, hope, and love, these three, but the greatest of these is love." Why did he write it? Why did he say that? He could have just said, abide in faith and hope and love one another. But that he knows that faith can be lost in sight, hope ends in fruition. But love is greater, because love is something that you carry in your heart. Love is something that you will share with other people. The love that you know comes from two places: people that have loved you, and the love that you make today. Right? The love I received from my parents is love that they perhaps received from their parents. And it's been passed down like a candle, like on Christmas Eve when we pass the candlelight around. That's what love is like, right? In some ways, it's passed on. But there's also the love that you and I make in ourselves. A different type of love than the love we just receive from our families. It's a love that wells up in us, that we feel a compulsion to go out and share. So when Paul says the greatest of these is love, he's elevating love to be a substance that is boundless. And in doing so, he modifies the word great as well. Great is the modifier in that sentence. Faith and hope are good, but love is great. It is wrong to separate yourself from goodness by just being good, when you are compelled to be way beyond just good, but to be great, to be part of the boundless substance that holds and heals and changes. So those are the three words. Those are the three things in that opening sentence. It's a sin to be good if God's called you to be great. Now, Dr. Rainier's book uses sort of a business model to look at churches that have been broken and have broken through the doldrums that so often happens in churches. You know, they say that the main reason why people leave Christian churches, they said when people grow up Catholic, they leave the Catholic Church often because they feel that they have been lied to. And people say that they leave evangelical churches often because they are tired of being of denying science and being told to be ignorant at times. And they say they leave mainline churches, which, even though Unitarian Universalism, nationally doesn't look like a mainline church, here in New England, it's a mainline church. And people leave mainline churches mostly because they get bored. So Dr. Rainier's book uses a business book really as a model to look at churches that he says have broken out of the doldrums and become breakout churches. The book he uses is a book by another evangelical called Good to Great: Why Some Companies Make the Leap and Others Don't. It's a way to look at leadership in businesses. And some of you might be familiar with one of the sayings that comes out of the book that says, you need to get the wrong people off the bus, the right people on the bus, and get in the right seats and the right driver, and then you need to know where they need to go. Right? That's this business model that Dr. Rainier then uses to describe these churches that have broken through. Now, he's not saying we need to get the wrong people out of the pews, as much as I think it's a leadership thing. It's not you, it's me, right? Or at least this position. Now, there's much good in Dr. Rainier's book, and once I was able to translate all the language for myself, I really got that. But the thing I want you to understand today, this Sunday, is the idea of being great. I want you to take a few moments to think about what this church would look like if it was really, really great. Do you think that this church is great? You might. I mean, it's a great church. But maybe there are things that you think that still could be improved. Maybe a way to think about that is by asking yourself the question, what breaks your heart? What breaks your heart? And is there anything that this community could do to mend that thing which breaks your heart? Now, my job as your interim minister these next 2 years is not to make you great. I may take credit for it later on, but that's not my job. My job is not to make you great, but to help you get ready so that when the next settled minister arrives, that you and they can make this place great. So what I am charged to do, it's even in the contract that I signed, what I am charged to do is a few things. Some of you might think that the interim minister's job is just as a placeholder. To preach on Sundays, to attend committee meetings, to make sure things stay exactly the same, but that's not necessarily true. There are 5 tasks of interim ministry which I am going to try to address as well and do with your help, along with preaching and teaching and doing pastoral care and other things as well. Now, the first of these tasks is to help you come to terms with the history of this church. To grieve, if that seems appropriate, for the loss of and the leaving of a beloved minister. To help folks work out their emotions due to the change in ministry. To help you take an unvarnished look at the church, its past, its strengths and its weaknesses, its shortcomings and its accomplishments. To hold up a mirror to all of you and say, is this who you really think you are? is for me to come in and have fresh eyes, to look around this place and say, hey, where's the sign on the men's room door? It took me a little while that first couple of days to figure out where the men's room was, then to find the sign that goes on there. Something that all of you who have been here forever, because for me, being here, everyone's new, right? Everyone has been here longer than me, right? So I just assume that you've all been here for a really long time, even if that's not true. And you might know which door goes to where, but I didn't. And a new person coming also wouldn't as well. So the first thing is for me to help you deal with your history. And sometimes that also means looking at the history and saying, why do these things keep happening? Now, it's not true in this church. You've had a lovely long history with some great ministers, but there are other Unitarian Universalist churches, there are other churches all across in our various faith traditions where ministers come and they stay for 4 years and then something happens and they leave. Every 4 years, and you kind of go, what's up with that? And so that interim minister's job is to come in and sort of say, what's the ghost in the machine that causes the people here in this church not to trust their ministers so that every 4 years something happens? Like I said, that's not this church's issues. I'm sure the other things that will show up and that will go, oh, right. But that's not one of them. So, first, help you come to terms with the church's history. Second is to help you explore your identity and your direction. Who will this community discover itself to be after this time? Right? When I sat and met with members of the Parish committee at our retreat, I asked them, we sat in a circle, I said, like, why did you come to this church? And some people came because of their children. They wanted their children to attend great religious education classes. Other people came because of the music. But a large number of the folks on the Parish committee said, well, I came and I heard Reverend Priest of Parsa preach, and it was great, and I came because of her. Well, I'm here to remind you that you are not Parsarians. You are not Parsarians. You are Unitarian Universalists from Milton, the first parish in Milton. This is your church. This isn't her church. This is your church. So in my time here is to help you figure out who you are outside of your identity and ability to identify with the minister, and have people identify with the minister out in this community. You need to identify and be able to explore your identity and the direction you want to go in. Be aware of your past so that you have a clear view of who you want to be in the future. Right? 1, come to terms with history. 2, explore your identity and direction. 3, make leadership and operational changes. We will plant new seeds. We will nourish the roots of this community of faith. We will take a look, and I will take a look and look at things. Let me, I've said this before, and I'm going to say this again. You have great staff. Oh, and I'm not even talking about myself. I'm talking about everybody else here. Great staff. Oh my gosh, fantastic. Really, really fantastic. But there's still things in leadership that I want to see and for us to test and to figure out why we're doing these things. So, come to terms with history, explore identity and direction, make leadership and operational changes. The 4th is to renew links. Renew links. Not only renew the links we have with our denomination and with the district of Unitarian Universalists here in the Mass Bay district, but also what are our links to people and the communities here in Milton, the organizations here in Milton that we have been a part of, or that perhaps we really need to be a part of, as well as in the larger 5-mile radius. What are our connections with the church in Canton and the church in Quincy and Dorchester, with our Unitarian Universalist brothers and sisters who are right around us? So those are one of the things that we'll be doing as well. History, identity, leadership changes, renewing links, and the fifth is helping the church to commit to making new directions in its ministry. And remember, as I said last week, ministry isn't just about the minister, it's the ministry, it's the work we all do together. So making sure that we are able to identify what that ministry is, what that direction is, and go towards it. Of course, there'll be more things that I'll be doing. Things we'll be doing to ensure the church is, well, church. And the other thing that I'll be doing as the interim minister is that I get to represent change. Right? I'm going to do things like I already did today. I forgot to put the hymn in. I forgot to ask everyone to sing at the wrong place. I was down there when I should have been up here. I'm going to do other things that are going to drive you crazy, and you're going to find yourself going, that's not how Reverend Parisa did it. And I'll say, she's not here. And maybe the way Parisa did it was the right way, and I'm doing it the wrong way. And I'm not because I'm doing it on purpose. So maybe I'll take credit for that too. But it's more likely I'll just make mistakes. But it's to help you to kind of go, oh, right. Change is happening. Change alone is unchanging, right? And so that when your new next settled minister comes here in 2 years, when they do something different, you will at least have had the experience of me making mistakes, me making changes, and going, oh, right, this is different. You'll have already gotten all your anger out on me, all your frustrations out on me, and you'll be so relieved when the next person comes. What makes a church great? As we heard in the great reading that Jeff did of Walt Whitman, what makes a church great is the people. What Whitman pointed out is that a great city is one that allows good people to become great. What makes a church great? Think about that for a moment. What makes a church great? Now, you can think about measurable criteria. You can think about attendance increases, or the improvement in buildings, or financial security, or programs that have an impact on culture, the church's role in our larger community, the way that we are able to transform people's lives. So we can have those ways to sort of say, oh, this is the way church is improved, is by these things you can measure. Or perhaps it's by the whole church living the church's mission. Living the mission of this church. You know what the mission of this church is, right? Do you know where to find it? It's hanging on a picture. It's hanging in a frame in the parish hall. Right? But let me read it to you. We, the members of the First Parish in Milton, Unitarian Universalist, are committed to building a self-governing, mutually supportive religious community of friendly and caring people, providing a haven for spiritual inquiry and growth, contributing to a universal vision of peace and justice through action, celebrating the diversity and inherent worth of all people, thereby enriching our lives and those of our children. Are you doing those things? Are you living that mission? What do you think about that mission? Is it too wordy? The All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, for many years, their church's mission was three words: to civilize Tulsa. I haven't been to Tulsa in a long time. I haven't seen the changes. And I don't know how I would feel if I was in another church and I was told that I need to be civilized. But that church has grown by leaps and bounds because people want to do that. People who come to church are looking for meaning. And I mean not just the people who might be coming in as visitors here. I mean you guys too. You're looking for meaning in your lives, and church is a place where it can be provided. People are looking to know others, looking to know others and to be known by others. Church is where we practice being the people that we want to be. So what do you want this church to be? How could this church be great? That is that's part of what this interim time will be. A chance to figure out what you and others can do, or even dream about how great this church can be. Like I said, this is already a great church in so many ways, but there are ways we can make it better. To make it not just good, but great. Think about that. Think about the things that you can make great here. Pray about it, talk about it, share your ideas, your opinions, your beliefs with your friends here, with the leadership, with me. And let me also say that the parish committee is, in the coming months, will organize groups, whether they meet here at church or in people's homes, where people will get together to ask questions, to start asking the questions that you need to do, that you need to start thinking about as you prepare to select a search committee who next year will work to get you a new minister who will match your dreams and visions of who you want to be. And you're going to have these small groups, and you'll get together, and you'll have like 15 people together, and you're going to be asked 3 questions, or it's going to be like, what does great look like? How do we grow deep faith and take bold actions? Those sort of things. Now, this is, remember, I want to remind you too, so this is a 4-part sermon series I'm doing right now, right? Last week was about who. This week is about what. Next week, I'll be talking about why we'll be doing all this, why intraministry, and lastly, how we're going to do it. I want you to keep in the back of your mind the ways that this church can be great. And I want you to think of all those things, and please take it out of that file in your head that says, someone else will do this, and it'll be great. Because it's not about someone else doing something, it's about you doing something. We are going to be thinking about ways this church can be great. We'll gather them, we'll share these ideas. The leadership's going to look at these ideas and study them, and it'll help inform the direction this church wants to go in. And then once we have that map, we can plot it out. And the search committee will go out and try and find someone who can help this church become great. Rosalind Carter once said, a leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to go. See, this is why you don't hire the first minister who comes knocking on your door. This whole community needs time to be invested in finding not a minister to make you great, but a minister who will appreciate the greatness, your greatness, and help you bring it out. So imagine that great church. And imagine what that great church can do. Imagine what we can do together. Amen. Our next hymn you will find in the silver and gray hymnals. It's number 18. What wondrous love is this? Please, we're going to remain seated as we sing this. Number 18. What wondrous love is this? Let us open our hearts in prayer. We give thanks, O Maker and Giver of all things beautiful, for the glory and grace of this world, who through your church you teach us the meaning and the way of noble living. We thank you for generous heroes, wise teachers, and all faithful people who by word and deed have brought this message to the world. We thank you for those places where women and men have made holy through the sincerity of their worship. And God, on this day, we hold up in prayer Jeannie's mother, who's in the hospital, and Lori, asked for prayers for her friend Jamie and for her daughter Annie, who had another surgery this past Thursday. And someone else has written, India has written a prayer for Sherry Johnson, a dear friend's stepmother, suffering from complications from a broken hip. Her friend Shelley, who lost her beloved pet after 18 years. And thanks for all that Joan Rivers brought us. Let us be glad. I add also my friends Lori and Brian's son, who was struck by a car this past week and is recovering at Children's Hospital, and of course they are recovering as well after such a fright. Thou, we remember with gladness the friends we have made in this church, the lessons of truth and love which we have learned here. May we strive to realize and attain our great inheritance and become one fellowship with all who have so lived that reverence and beauty, justice and good will increase on earth. And this we ask in the name of all the prophets, known and those yet to be known. Amen. Let us be in silence for the next few minutes. Amen. Boy, I dig that clock. I hear that. That's pretty good. You know, those clocks are always put there, and you have I don't know who gave it. The name was on there, but you know, those clocks are always given by somebody important who thought the minister went on too long. That's why they put the clock there and not there. But I'm very grateful. It's a lovely clock. I'm not asking for a show of hands, but I'm going to tell you something that you may not realize until I say it. That most people under the age of 35 do not own checkbooks. Most people under the age of 35 don't own checkbooks. And in fact, they'd much rather give online. Which is why, maybe you've noticed these last few weeks, there's a little card that has appeared in your pews that says, I give electronically. We want to make sure that the folks who give electronically to support this church well, that they had something to put in the plate in my body. Now, I'm always happy for you to give money as well, to give electronically and then throw some cash in as well. But I would want to make sure that you knew that we were counting you. We wanted to make sure that people here knew that you too, regardless of your age, can give electronically. You can set it up so that every month a certain amount of money comes out of your checking and goes right into the church's kitty. Can't think of the right word. Bank accounts. It's a great way for us to show that we support this church. That we're not just here resting on, and we're not just here to rely on the giving of those who gave in the past, that we are active members of this place to make sure that everyone feels that they can be part of the support and the life of this community. The offering will now be given and received. The ushers will come forward.
And now the unison dedication printed in your order of service. May these gifts be transformed into strength for this faith community into comfort, food, and shelter for those in need. And may we be transformed by generosity. Thank you. Please remain standing and join me in singing our final hymn. You'll find it in our teal hymnal. It's number 17, am I right? 1017, Building a New Way. Oh, this is a great hymn. I love this. 1017, Building a New Way. Let's sing. For the guidance of those who came before us. We give thanks for the faith of those who walk beside us. We give thanks for the hope in those who follow behind us. We give thanks for the love that sustains us each day. May we find within ourselves a deep well of gratitude. May we find within our gratitude our own profound generosity, and may we bring it forth. Go in peace, believe in peace, create peace. Our worship is over. Our service begins. Amen.